Well, thank you very much. Thank you for that. And I'd like to now invite Kara Martinez, former Denver Justice and Peace Committee Director and a longtime member, to come up to help us introduce this year's Member of the Year. Kara?
Thank you, Jack. It's Cara, como la cara. So this organization for me, has long been a sanctuary, and it's so heartening to see so many people bringing their own talents, whether they're singers or whether they're artists or writers or any activists, peacemakers, any number of these things. You all are so inspiring, and it's my honor and pleasure to introduce one such person, and that is Dr. Lynn Holland, who is this year's John Proctor Award recipient. Lynn grew up in the town of Derbyline, Vermont, a small town that shared a border with Quebec, Canada, and there she gained a love for animals and a deep appreciation for the land. Her childhood laid the foundation for her later dedication to human rights and the environment. As a young person in the 1980s, she spent a summer in Nicaragua and toured a Salvadoran refugee camp during the Contra War. This experience shaped her by highlighting the contradictions between what she observed regarding U.S. involvement in Central America versus the version that appears on the news every evening. Still going on. When she returned to the U.S., she joined her friend and sister graduate student, Oneida Mascarenas, I say that right, who now teaches at Metropolitan State University, to form the Central American Support Group at UCD. Together, they spent the next few years leafletting, petitioning, public speaking, and writing articles to bring attention to the dire history of human rights abuses in Nicaragua, El Salvador, and Guatemala. Her first involvement with DJPC was during the 1980s, when she participated in the protests against Nestle's infant formula sales to poorer countries. And since we're on the theme of Jack having people raise their hands and who participated in the Nestle boycott, why don't you raise your hands if you were involved in that? Thank you for still being here. After finishing her PhD in poli-sci at the University of California at Los Angeles, she returned with her husband Ross to Denver, where they have raised their two children, their daughter Monterey and their son Luke. They have been active in the community through the First Unitarian Society of Denver, and her homecoming to DJPC occurred just a few years ago when she became involved again with the Salon and advocacy committees. And since then, she has joined delegations that traveled to Honduras with our friends at Rights Action, and to Cajamarca and Celadín, Peru, with members of our Mine Watch committee. And a show of hands, who went on the delegations? She has contributed her expertise on Latin American development, poverty issues, human trafficking, immigration issues, land rights, U.S.-Cuban relations, and much more. And I would like to encourage you all to do read the biography in the program, because you'll learn much more about Lynn's work at the University of Denver, where she serves as the associate teaching professor, and her incredible work toward raising Latin American political and social issues to greater prominence at the Joseph Corbell School of International Studies. To Lynn's credit is a long list of accolades. She's a talented and tireless professor. She educates tomorrow's leaders by encouraging them to ask critical questions and view the world from multiple angles. She's a gifted writer. Her articles outline and translate complex foreign policy issues in an accessible manner. And as a human rights advocate, she has championed the cause of the marginalized and the repressed throughout Latin America and beyond. Please give a generous aplauso y un abrazo to nuestra amiga Lynn.
Thank you so much. That was just lovely. I really appreciate it, Cara, and everyone. I want to just quickly introduce my family, who I'm so happy to have here this evening. My husband Ross, who's here, my son Luke, and my daughter Monterey. I'm just really pleased that they're here. And this just means a great deal to me to be in the company of all the remarkable people who have received this award. It's really a great honor. The DJPC has stood so courageously through the years for peace, justice, human rights, and environmental rights, and I've been amazed by the strength and the wisdom and the compassion in this organization. It also means a lot to me because the DJPC provided me with my first experience in the peace and justice movement way back in the 80s. At that time, we joined the Nestle bottled formula boycott because the formula was being aggressively marketed in less developed countries where there was no clean water and babies who were drinking the formula were getting sick and dying from it. For one of my earliest demonstrations, we actually chose to thank the Nestle company when it finally ended the sales of its infant formula in these critical regions. To do this, we went to the famous Top of the Rockies restaurant owned by Nestle. It was located on the top level of the Security Life building, which is the tallest building in Colorado. We got to the top by way of a glass elevator, most of us in our hippie demonstrator clothes. And when we arrived, we saw this magnificent restaurant. It was filled with fabulous food, beautifully decorated tables, a lovely decor, a fabulous, fabulous view, and beautiful people. About 20 of us clambered in and were greeted with stunned looks from everyone there. And in the midst of all of the hustle and bustle, Jerry Stuckey, who is our recent former director and was director back then as well, asked me to say a few words to the crowd to express our thanks to Nestle. And then he put a sheet of paper with a short speech written on it into my hand. Well, I was a newbie and didn't know anything about giving speeches. I was just going along to be part of the event. I wanted to be part of the excitement. And I hadn't expected to give a speech. But I thought, well, here it is written for me, so I'll go ahead. And I opened my mouth, and just this little peeping voice came out and said, we're very glad to be here. We've worked hard, and now we've won. And when I looked up, I saw that people were actually listening to me, and they started clapping, and with every sentence, they were clapping a little bit more. And pretty soon I became bolder, and I started lifting up my voice, and the crowd began cheering, and I started gesturing, and there was more cheering, and I said, well, we're here to celebrate our victory. And there was more cheering, and even the people and the staff in the restaurant were nodding in appreciation. And afterwards, one of the managers actually came out and thanked us for acknowledging the change that Nestle had made. So that was my start as a peace and justice activist. I learned that sometimes you just have to jump in and do what needs to be done and develop your style as you go along. So I want to thank the DJPC not only for this tremendous honor, but also for helping me to find my voice as an activist. And also, although there have been many years between then and now when I haven't been active, for your immeasurable encouragement and support. Thank you.